Hello, and welcome to our new episode of State of the Arts. I'm your host, Lauren Roth, and we're coming to you today from the Tucson Museum of Art. In this episode, you will meet Tucson-based painters, weavers, musicians, and choir singers from all different walks of life. Currently on view at the Tucson Museum of Art is the exhibition Cumbi, Textiles, Society, and Memory in Andean South America. Here to talk more about that is Dr. Christopher Driggers, who's the museum's curator of Latin American art. Thanks so much for speaking to me today.
Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you about this exhibition.
I'm excited too. So I would love to hear a little bit about how this idea came to be and what all goes into curating an exhibition like this.
So the exhibition that we have here, it's called Cumbi, Textile Society and Memory in Andean South America. And the concept for the exhibition comes from a single Quechua word, cumbi, which was the term for especially fine textiles woven to be worn by people at the very highest kind of elite levels of Inca society. So it's an Inca culture word, but I wanted to think about this word and these ideas as ways of talking about a world where textiles were really highly valued, a world where textiles helped to form social relationships between people, and a world where textiles were part of how people told stories about themselves and about their pasts and about their cultures. It's an exhibition that includes contemporary and ancient work, and what we found is that there are a number of contemporary artists working today who are looking to ancient textiles and ancient traditions as a way of talking about contemporary issues. What goes into making an exhibition like this one is that you sort of look at all of the objects that you have in your permanent collection. Here at Tucson Museum of Art, we have an extensive collection of textiles from the Andes, and you look for areas of strength, and then you look for artists who would be interesting to put kind of in conversation with these works. It's a long process. Planning an exhibition takes years. This particular exhibition was sort of a 2-year planning process, and it's a process of talking to people, finding out what works would be interesting, and then thinking about how to create some groups of artworks that can go nicely together.
I'd love to hear a little about what pieces in this exhibition stand out to you, or if you have any personal connection to any of them.
It's a little difficult to narrow down to just one or two pieces, but in addition to all the really interesting works by the contemporary artists in this show, I'm really excited about one of the pieces that's here on loan. It's an artwork that's been at the Arizona State Museum for a number of decades and hasn't frequently been shown. And it's a large tapestry woven piece with images of felines all across its surface. These cats almost seem to be sort of marching or displaying in a line. And it's woven from 5 different panels that are joined together. And if you look carefully at the places where those panels are joined, you see that the artist has aligned each of these different panels, individually woven, just perfectly. The tail of one cat begins on one panel and then carries over onto the next. Doing this kind of work is difficult, right? And to see it sort of achieved at this level, I think is something that's really exciting. It's exciting to see the degree of sophistication in ancient Andean weaving traditions kind of embodied in this work.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for talking with me today, and also for your incredible work to spread this inclusion, diversity, and educate our community here in Tucson about the Andean region and Cumbi.
Thank you. My pleasure.
People have been exploring weaving for thousands of years. Now we will take a look at a contemporary artist who is putting her own spin on this ancient practice. Claire Campbell Park is a textile artist known for her abstract weavings. She aims to visually depict the spiritual core that unites all of us in her colorful and intricate work.
I always try to bring a sense of gratitude and dignity and hope into the weavings, and I have to live that myself in order to bring that. It's also an act of becoming, but I don't think the work is really finished until I have the opportunity to share it with other people. I'm Claire Campbell Park. I am an artist, an author, and a lecturer. And I taught at Pima College for 35 years. I taught studio art, color theory, and basic design and weaving and textiles. I came here for the job. I didn't know anything about Tucson, and I just absolutely loved the desert. It's just beautiful. The diversity of the desert, the light, the color is a big influence on my work. I've written a book, Creating with Reverence, Art, Diversity, Culture, and Soul. And it was developed in my classes in conversation and reflection with my students, which was wonderful. I loved thinking about things that are beyond just the materiality of art. And in the book, I look at the ideas of artists and craftspeople from many different cultures and ask people to reflect on their own ideas. When I was 18, my parents moved to Montana. All those years, would go back every summer and help with the cherry orchard, and totally different life. My parents' property in Montana was right on a lake, and it was just incredibly beautiful. It gave that sense of space, and I think that's really where my appreciation of space really gelled. My textile processes, for me, is a kind of active meditation. What I find most gratifying is that so many people have told me that they just want to walk into my work and stay there, breathe in the color, and heal.
Claire Campbell Park is a phenomenal person, an artist. She is one of the most gentle souls I've ever met. Her work interweaves with that notion of reverence in art and about the meditative qualities.
What I get most pleasure from is just color and technique. And Claire's piece that I have has exceptional technique and a beautiful sense of color. Like any good work of art, it feeds your soul.
At the time that she was originally creating her fibers, she was embracing it more in the spirit of the Bauhaus. So she was looking at it as a means to an end rather than about the repetition, than about what it represented in terms of the trajectory of women artists. I found that really phenomenal because her work is absolutely about the craftsmanship. It's meticulous. You cannot replicate this easily, but it's about ultimately something else. And that's what I find fascinating. It's about color.
I couldn't do what I do now if I hadn't taught literally thousands of students to see color. And we were doing these exercises where I would help them see little tiny differences in color. And at first they thought I was nuts, but then they started seeing for themselves. And it just brings a lot of joy to life. But it's not only the amount of color it's next to, it's the color itself, it's the other colors, it's all relational. And that's what makes it fascinating. Right now I'm using two different kinds of materials. I use the 16-2 linen for my weavings, and I'm using cut paper strips for the paper weavings. The linen frustrates me some because there are only 65 colors available, so I have to blend visually like crazy. And one of the reasons I use the colored paper is because I have hundreds of colors to work with, and it gives me a different kind of freedom in that work.
We met Claire through the Museum of Art here in Tucson. We just fell in love with this one because of the coloring, or the way they grow into each other.
Any artist in whatever medium, if they really have put it together as well as Claire has put together what she does, then they deserve big recognition. She's right up there with the best.
When I weave, I can't see what I've done after it's rolled under. So I have to keep it in my mind. I had to train my mind and my ability to work with these complex color relationships. The other issue with weaving is you can't erase easily. Unlike a painter, you can't just paint over it. I can take out a few inches. That's the other thing. You got to get it right. And if you don't get it right, the challenge and half the fun of it is you have to figure out a new solution and work with the proportions. And sometimes it's just a single line of color will bring it back into relationship, into harmony.
Next, we will meet my friend and colleague at the University of Arizona's Fred Fox School of Music, Fanya Lin. Fanya is an associate professor of practice in piano.
The most important thing when I'm learning a repertoire is that I want to understand what I want to say and what the composer wants to say. As a performer, we are kind of serving as a medium between the composer with the audience. So we're kind of this bridge. It's a process that you have to prepare yourself, not just physically, but also emotionally. A lot of the times when I design my program, I like to design it around having this space of complete focus and concentration. I feel this connection of this physical sensation with whatever I do, and I really enjoy the feeling of when you were focusing on something, where you feel like you were not playing, but something else was playing through you, and you know exactly when to play, where to play every single note. In the slow movement, I almost feel like I could see the composer's emotions, almost like agony and pain and despair in the music. But then there are also this exciting outburst of energy and virtuosity that you will hear in the repertoire. I always hope that the audience could receive my message, not just the notes or the flashy, fast and loud sections, but also the story or the emotional engagement or the picture that I was trying to depict as I perform. I am someone who enjoys learning always, and that helps when you encounter challenges or obstacles in life as well. When things get hard, you still have to stick with it and believe that in the end, something good is going to come out of it.
Barbara Rogers is a force of nature. A loving mother and a prolific artist, she explores ideas of paradise, life, destruction, and vulnerability in her art.
When I was little, they gave me pencil and paper. I would draw and be quiet. The seed was planted.
Barbara really has been a mentor to many people. She has introduced people to art who weren't really collectors. She is just really a force as a person and as an artist.
So one of the things I hope will happen with this exhibition is that people will tell me what it is.
I had to go to art school at the San Francisco Art Institute and then at UC Berkeley. I graduated from Berkeley and won the Eisner Prize. I was the only person that was invited to be adjunct instructor. Then I got hired permanent faculty at the San Francisco Art Institute, and then coming here to the University of Arizona as full professor with tenure. For really the first time in my life to live and have a studio and a garden under the same roof.
I came to Tucson in 1995, originally to work at the University of Arizona. That's where Barbara Rogers was teaching at the time. When I first met her, she was a force to be reckoned with. This woman has more energy than 3 women. What I learned over the years as I started to work with her as a curator was the evolution of her work.
When I was a grad student at Berkeley, this job offer came in from Temple Emmanuel in San Francisco to teach in the Sunday school, and they didn't say that you had to be Jewish. The rabbi said, we have to have a talk. And the talk was, we don't believe in heaven, we don't believe in hell. We believe what you create on earth is heaven or hell. And he said, well, you know, you might consider if you painted about paradise, what would it look like? I owe that rabbi my enlightenment. My painting changed, my release from worrying about heaven or hell. I could design my own life. And how could I design it to have it be my idea of heaven?
Her work, of course, had a photorealism focus when she was in the Bay Area. Later, she experienced the hurricane when she was doing research and work in Hawaii. Her work changed.
The subject that I chose to paint about was romantic kinds of gardens. I decided I needed more exotic forms. I flew to Hawaii in Thanksgiving of '82. Was only there a few hours. Wind started. It ended up being a sustained wind of 90 miles an hour. Moving in front of me were fragments of orchids and gorgeous plants. I didn't know that I'd make it out alive. When I came back, I just couldn't paint those romantic scenes that included beautiful people. I spent maybe 4 years experimenting, not knowing what the work was going to be about. What everybody sees today evolved from what really got to me, which was seeing everything in fragments and basically what remains.
It went from this rather fun look at foliage, love, empowerment of women in a very photorealist way, to looking at the profound destruction and beauty from destruction.
I can start a painting 1 year and it doesn't leave the studio for 10 years. I have this storage area in the studio. It's basically a rest home for paintings that are waiting for me to get smart enough to be able to finish. So I don't make a plan. I do an underpainting. Often that underpainting is cadmium yellow. I like yellow. It's so Tucson. It's just sunshine. It can be any non-verbal tickle of excitement in me that makes me, oh, I've got to check that out. It either finishes easily or it's like giving birth to an elephant. When you are finished with a painting, you've used everything that you can think of to make this your idea of beautiful.
Being in her garden, number 7, was one of the first pieces of art that we bought in Tucson. It was the first time she had inserted glass into her work. She has the little flower inside this glass box. When you look at the painting closely, the colors are layered and layered and layered. This one is called Cambridge. Barbara was thinking in terms of Cambridge, Ohio, which is where she grew up. She named this piece in honor of the memory of her mother. And this one, I love the spray of flowers.
Just the earth itself has become my kind of religion. And the work that's at Tonachul exhibition is about shrines to loving the earth and doing whatever you can to help. So the only thing you can do is to be kind. It is really about understanding your smallness in the scheme of things. Everything's temporary. We're all just passing through this. Do as little damage as possible on the trip.
Southern Arizona is home to many different kinds of voices, some of which are heard more often than others. Reveille Men's Chorus seeks to make hidden and vulnerable voices heard very clearly.
Okay, I know that there was maybe a couple of things that were challenging to people today. Would you do me a favor and through a cleansing process, would you turn to your neighbor and give them a hug? Don't look at me. Don't touch me. Okay, your turn. Okay, that's enough hugging! God! It's enough hugging! Reveille Men's Chorus is a community chorus of gay men, bisexual men, transgender men, straight men. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? We have doctors, we have attorneys, we have students, we have teachers from ages 20 to ages 70. We run the full gamut of community members. My name is Sean Cullen and I'm the Artistic Director of Reveille Men's Chorus. I work really hard to create a balance within the rehearsals so that it is fun and entertaining, but there's also an understanding that people are here to make really great music, and really great music takes a lot of focus and a lot of time and effort. Right, don't push. If we push, we go brain. Suddenly we're vacuuming the Star Spangled Banner. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're brave.
I am Rob Groves. I'm the president of the board of directors and a singer with Reveille Men's Chorus, and I am a professor of classics at the University of Arizona. I had never found friends and found acceptance as quickly as I did here in Tucson, and I attribute that solely to Reveille. This chorus is a tool for acceptance and for support that I don't know anything else like.
As recently as 2 years ago, came out as transgender to my parents, and all my students know me as Miss Jai, know me as like this feminine, masculine kind of mix. I've always really enjoyed and felt my most authentic when I have the opportunity to sort of explore that in-between space. The importance of finding solidarity and finding community can be life-saving.
It depends on where you come from, it depends on where you are, it depends on who you choose to be. I've been out my whole life, and I've never allowed anybody's disapproval of who I am to get in my way. And if people were offended by that, I made it very clear that that wasn't something that I needed to worry about to live my life as a proud man.
This will be a full decade that I have been out, and it has been amazing. It feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders as a result. And I can actually be who I am, my true authentic self.
I always really enjoy whenever Reveille gets the opportunity to sing with Desert Voices, because as much as I love men's choruses, there's something so beautiful and wonderful about having so many different experiences in one room.
Thank you so much for joining us today on State of the Arts. I'm Lauren Roth, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Ciao.